Yeah. You might ask people to enunciate because it's recording from this and not talk over people.
You guys all hear that? They don't have a video of us on this tonight set up, but the audio is. So, okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's October 13th, 2021, and this is a meeting of the Carbondale, Colorado Parks and Recreation Commission. We're an advisory commission made up of volunteers to assist and consult with town staff and make recommendations to our elected town officials. My name is Hollis Sutherland, and I am honored to be the commission chair for this year. I'm joined by our fellow volunteers, Vice Chair Rose Rosello, Ashley Hake-Manick, Leslie Carey, Susan Ray, Kathleen Vodatovich, John Williams, Brian Sobey, and Misha Logan. And we are also joined by Carbondale staff Eric Brinlinger, our Parks and Recreation Director, Jesse Rochelle, Community Center and Recreation Programs Manager, and Kay McDonald, our Board and Commissions Clerk. Luis Yanes is our Board of Trustee Liaison. I'd like to welcome anyone who may be watching live or via recording, and thank you for participating in our local government. As a commission, we strive to serve the town of Carbondale by setting aside personal biases and looking at what's best for our community. We honor diverse opinions, promote inclusivity, and endeavor to keep our discourse civil and respectful. In front of you, I just want to remind the commission members, we have our values and conduct that we talked about at the last meeting. But no need to go over that in great detail. So we're going to get started with the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Yeah.
Question: who is on audio? Are there some people on audio?
Who is with us? Oh, Brian.
Brian, and then we have one attendee, Amy Fullstone.
Oh, she's actually on the agenda.
Okay.
Yes? No.
I don't.
The items from citizen present.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Luis is not listening, and Kathleen is not.
Luis is in another meeting and Kathleen can't make it tonight. So anyway, so that leaves one person that can vote. So Misha, since you're here, you want to, you're an alternate, would you vote as a regular member tonight? Or do you want Brian to? Is Brian here?
I'm on the line.
What's that, Brian?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Okay, are you comfortable with that, or would you like Brian to vote?
If you guys need to go, I can go.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, anything else? Any other questions before we look at the minutes? Okay, does everyone have a chance to review the minutes? Any edits, changes, additions, corrections? Anybody want a motion to approve the minutes?
I move the minutes be approved.
A second? Okay, thank you, Rose. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Kay. It was very detailed.
Yes. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we accepted the minutes. And now it's citizens present not on the agenda. Becky, did you have something?
No, I'm talking about something on the agenda.
Okay.
Becky, this is the email that I received today, so I can hand it out to people. So
I want you. So I can pass it on this side. Here's what you need.
So is there someone on that's?
Yeah, so is there
So,
somebody on that's,
Amy,
Amy, want to address anything to the commission? Amy, are you muted?
She just asked for a Zoom invitation.
Okay,
Could you just type something in the chat as soon as you like to speak?
okay. So Amy, I'm assuming, would you raise your hand if you have something you'd like to say, or because you're muted right now, or should we just proceed with the agenda?
She said she's just listening in the chat.
Oh, okay, thank you. I can't see the chat. Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, so moving on then. You all got a copy of the resource guide that was put together. I'm not going to go through that in great detail. There's obviously a lot of information in it. What I was trying to do was try to pull together a place where you can easily access things by using quick links. If you were looking for something in particular, like let's say you wanted the Aquatics master plan or whatever, you can access that quick link. If you needed to get a hold of people's contact information easily, that's in there. There was our meeting dates, if they're not in the calendar already, and about the times that they're going to start, and what our role is, and updates about the random meetings starting earlier. Yeah. So those kinds of things, and it's a lot to try to dive into all at one time. Moonlight.
A little early.
And so I think Rose.
That's our lead platinum working here.
We're not moving around.
Right.
Very good. And so Rose is going to be leading our training. We had talked about doing 10, 15 minutes of training each meeting, or if longer is needed based on the topic, we'll be able to do those two throughout the year. So is there anything else you wanted to say about this resource guide or anything?
You guys, honestly, thank you so much to Hollis, because I came to this commission, just wanted to be a part of my town and really had no idea what anything meant or what we were doing, or I just wanted to be a part of it. And then all of a sudden there's motions and seconds and voting and not voting, and I didn't know about any of that stuff or me. So I thank you so much for putting all the effort into it, because now when people can come, they have quite a bit of information. And if there's something that you guys see that we miss, feel free to say, hey, let's add this, or what do you think about that? Like, this can be a working document.
Yeah.
It's for us to kind of onboard a little easier.
Definitely.
Yep.
And
so thank you so much for all that hard work. It was a ton of work for you and Eric.
And I sent Eric and Jesse to the editable version, because things are gonna have to change every year and that kind of thing. But at least it's something at your fingertips for now. So anyway, Rose.
Right there?
Yeah.
Piggybacking on that same thing, I offered to step up and do the trainings. My background for that training, I'm just going to give you a heads up for all the trainings, is going to be that I've got a teacher's background. I've got a master's in elementary education, but that just means that I can do really fun games like that. And I can put together curriculums and things like that, so I can go over small lesson plans. I'm not coming to you as a professional in the field. And I will be pulling from professionals in the field for certain things. I'm just going to kind of do lessons plans based on a lot of the work that they did, but also kind of helping with vocabulary, or just like, what is this thing that we're on, and what do we have heard of? So today I'm going to talk just a very short amount about sunshine laws, and just kind of what that means, not even on a whole, but just what I know what that means. And then I've actually, Becky's been amazing, and she's given me some context. So we're going to try to pull in some professionals to get some actual legalese training on this. But I'm going to give you the HR side of training, because that's my other background on this. Sunshine laws, what I like about it is very clear what it means. Sunshine, you want light on what's going on. What's going on in the meeting should not be in the dark. So that's why it's called the sunshine laws. open. Oh, can I have that email back, please? Again, Becky's kind of my go-to on a lot of this legal stuff. So she sent an email that we all just read. I'm gonna read a couple of points that she said to keep in mind because they're 4 very simple points. So it's an easy way to go over it. And then I'm gonna read something that
Never
Paul
done
has
any.
wrote. Within that packet, there's a lot of other very large packets if you guys want to get deep into it. And I think that the actual trainers will get a little deeper than what I'm going to go into, but I just wanted to say that. So number 1 is to disclose all the information that you have and do not hide or try to hide anything. Number 2, do not do anything in secret. Everything should be put in public view. Number 3, be willing to be held accountable. And number 4, the public always has the right to be at your meeting and to have information that you have. So, in addition, I'm just going to read the takeaways rather than kind of delving too far again. And this is in the packet that Hollis and Eric provided to us. So, sunshine laws stipulate that concerned businesses, operations, or government activities provide open transparency and disclose to the public or upon inquiry. So all of this to me just kind of, it starts to already get legalese and it's kind of like, what are they saying? Again, I think it comes back to the sunshine laws. Are we being open? Are we being in the light? Can everybody see what we're doing? The purpose of these laws is to promote ethical standards, prevent fraud and corruption, and by doing so, engender greater public trust. And examples of sunshine laws may include mandatory corporate reporting, which I'm a mandatory reporter, and I think probably you are as well. Some of our education people have to be mandatory reporters, to the SEC and the Freedom of Information Act. So again, we can delve further into that when we have the actual trainers from either we've got a couple of law firms that I've called out to, and then also the bar association. We're going to reach out to they have some trainings that we can get into. And then future trainings, again, are going to kind of cover different things from the meeting. And then vocabulary. One thing that we have done in the past was silence all phone calls during meetings. So we did a ballot and we did not put our names on it or put it in the minutes. And so in the future, we're not allowed to do the ballots or to do the secret ballots or ballots without our names. We need to make sure that we're keeping everything in the open and publicizing everything that we do rather than ever putting anything in the trash rather than putting it in the notes. So again, sunshine, we're going to be in the light and doing things that way. Does anybody have any questions or things that they want to point out about the laws that we know more?
Not that I know more, but questions that I have. One of the things that came to my mind was, so I'm interested in getting a discussion going. And so I asked about senior matters issue. And so I talked to Eric about that. It's like, oh, well, we need to talk to the finance person about that. And oh gosh, we need to talk to Jesse about that because it's a program issue. And it's like all of a sudden, oh, it's like, so do each of these conversations need to be had one-on-one so that we don't violate the sunshine law? Or if 3 or more are gathered, then it's subject to recording and reporting and a sunshine law.
Right. Those are really good questions. And I think that would be a good question to write down and ask the trainers when we have them here.
Because the way to avoid it then is to only have conversations on it.
Right.
And I'm going to go to her, and I'm going to
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to start. I mean, what you have in your packet today is, literally the definition of open meeting requirements. So I thought that was a good starting place to start to look at these laws. And so it does kind of detail that a little bit in there of what is possible and what's not possible. So if you're a local body, which is we're on the local body and a state body, 3 or more members of the body, or 2 members of 2 constitutes a quorum, conducting business are subject to law. So that's, how do you define that, right? So how do you define business, you know? So it does get fairly vague.
Well, like it
when you
felt
look at it
awkward
that
to
way.
be discussing that issue with you and not have policy part of the conversation as well. But I read this and I went, well, if there's three of us, then it's an open session. Then it's an open meeting law because there's three of us now.
But the Colorado Supreme Court, what it also says here is held that a meeting must be part of the policymaking process, be subject to the requirements of the OML. So if we weren't making a decision in
I
our,
was gathering information.
yeah, you're just gathering information, that's fine,
Uh-huh.
you know, but we weren't making a policy decision at that time.
And so making a decision to discuss.
And I'm not a
about-
decision-making entity here either. I'm a staff person. So you can talk to me as much as you want to. You can talk to Jesse and I as much as you want to.
Okay.
And it's also good to note that any decision that we make, we're still, it's called an advisory board. So we just say this sounds like a good idea to us. What do you guys think? So everything that we do has to still go to the trustees and then they come back and they make the actual decision.
Right, but we're still subject to the open meetings law, even though we're not final decision making. A commission, we are making, we're still subject to the open meetings.
Yeah, I
But
thought
you should
this,
still write down those questions and ask the trainer several to hear their answers.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to start with this open meeting kind of requirements, because it does kind of lay that out with the local body. Just all the things that we need to do, that we are doing, you know, taking minutes, you know, timely notice, you know, all the things that's required of that law, we do. So
Are you
that's
right?
part of our policy.
Which page are you
So
on?
it's this one, it's like, it's called the law summary.
Oh, it's in the packet.
Yeah, it's in the packet of the meeting requirements of the law. So that was just a good starting point to start the long-term discussion on.
Well, this has all come to be a part of something that we're discussing because there was a secret ballot open in Congress, right? Correct. Okay, so then you guys went, Hollis and Eric went to the trustees and presented that information. I didn't read the minutes from that meeting, but was there a discussion then about violating the open meetings law? And what did they?
Yeah, we took it to
What happened?
our town attorney because he needed to delve in to see if it was possible or not as an advisory commission to vote
To have a
the way we
secret
did.
ballot.
Yeah, vote the way we did. And so it had to get, and he spent some time on it to figure out, you know, that, yeah, that wasn't,
The answer
Wow.
was no.
yeah. And so, so we said, okay, we learned something. We want to do that again. So moving on.
So it also seemed weird to me that a commission would be voting for its own members. And I wondered if that was an issue about a reason, a positive intended reason to have a secret ballot. Because there were more people that had applied than there were positioned. Until somehow you wanted to separate that.
No, and they had a discussion at the trustee level about how to proceed in the future with that situation, you know, where you have more candidates for the open position. And should the advisory commission be making that decision, or should the trustees be making that decision?
Well, the trustees ultimately make
Yeah.
it, but you make a recommendation. Should the commission even be making a
Right,
recommendation?
and when that happens, from now on, that would go to the trustee.
The answer was no. If there are more applicants
Yeah.
than spaces, the commission will not. be making a
Right,
decision.
and that would go to the trustees.
The commission will still be doing interviews, or will that just go straight to the trustees for interviews?
You know, we haven't done it yet, so no, the details, you know, will have to be ironed out, but.
I hope we get to say something about it because we're in the meetings all the time. So we know we've got an archaeologist and a historian and a teacher and a, you know, we know what our commission's made up of. So we
Yeah,
know
but
where
it would still be incestuous if the commission is choosing its own members. It's not clean. That's not the minutes, Kate. Wait a minute, you what?
Yes, that will get pushed up to the trustees. They actually just have it on the commission.
I love SOPs and once we know exactly what we're supposed to do, then we can follow it. And understand it. Standard operating procedures.
Right, so heretofore, this has not been an issue because there have not been more applicants than spaces. There's been more.
Oh, we did it before and John got voted and I didn't try. I just went again the next year. I don't know. How did you guys vote?
Was it secret ballot?
No.
Was it hand raised when you guys did that? Yeah.
I would say we
We
haven't
may
had
be-
issues in the past. I think all of this is driven pressure for all of us. I haven't had formal training. Maybe a little bit when I was in historic preservation, someone came in and tried to talk to us about it, but it is something that needs to happen regularly.
I mean, there are a lot of questions to ask, but you know, it also seems like there would be an online course.
There are online courses if you guys are interested in that. I found many online. I'm just more of an in-person learner. And I figured I'm pretty good at developing contacts. And maybe someone that wants to come, you know, on a whatever, try annual, you know, come every couple of months and talk to us about more, I don't know, litigation. Again, I don't know law words. Talk about more actual law parts of the meeting.
And I think just to that, like historic preservation has a certain certification on the town. So to maintain that certification, they have to train the commission. The commission is very similar to this one in what it just advises, but they have to go through that training to maintain. This one doesn't have anything like that, so it kind of just gets lost.
It doesn't have an overriding agency from state agency that are looking at, so it's slipped.
So we haven't had that one training.
But we're going to now. I'm gonna take us there. Captain, training ship. Becky's got a question.
I don't have a question. I have.
Becky's got a thing.
I would advise you guys to be very careful about what you're doing with this. Rose has no legal experience. Hollis and Eric went to Jay and asked him a very specific legal question, and Jay got it wrong. And it's a very complex. And the other issue is not just training, it is the questions you're asking, and if she answers them, she's getting into the unauthorized practice of law. Like that's a whole different can of worms you're opening up. Like you can't have specific questions and answers about specific situations because you're getting into, like, she's going to provide you advice, any kind of an answer, she's then in unauthorized practice of law. So you need, I would honestly say this is a very bad idea to have Rose be doing these trainings. Like,
I wasn't gonna train on law. I'm only training, I was gonna train more on what it means to be on the board.
you just sat through and went through the sunshine laws. That's exactly what you just did. And I'm just telling you, I would not do that. You want to have an attorney come in, and even then, you won't be able to ask them specific. I mean, you can ask them very general questions, but they're not going to be able to, like, hey, you know, we have this and this and this. I mean, they can only give you general answers because they're not your client, or you're not their client. So you guys are walking a very thin line right here. You really need to be careful.
And I think where we're going with this, and I appreciate you giving Rose some referrals, is because I actually have asked Eric, you know, I put it in an email to him earlier, you know, like this summer, saying, can Mark Hamilton come in and do a training? We need to have an overall training of basic, what you can do and what you can't do. And then we're just gonna have to all do the best we can to monitor as we go through our meetings. You know, like, you know, there was a whole other one too, Becky, when you were there as well, when, you know, we had the public, and then we told them we were done talking, and then we came in and we made the mistake, you know, of talking about it. So, you know, and then realizing afterwards that we shouldn't have done it. So it's on all
Then you
of
had done what? I'm not clear what you
So we
said.
were having
we
a
having a
meeting.
discussion, and there were people from the public who came about a certain topic that they were interested in.
Right.
And so we were moving, you know, at one point I said, well, okay, we're gonna move on now. And then people left, and then a question was raised, and then we got into the
About
discussion
the issue that
again.
they had been here for.
Yes, and then we continued on the discussion as a whole commission. And then it was like
So
the
the
next
sense was
day.
that you had misled them by going back to discuss that thing again?
Yes,
Or-
which was unintentional. It was not intentional. But the next day it was called to our attention that we probably shouldn't have done that.
And we told them we were done with the discussion, and then we continued the
and then
discussion
we-
after they left.
Yeah. So, but really that was all of our responsibility as a commission. Somebody said, hey, wait a second, we can't be talking about this. So that's why I
Well,
think.
that's why you have an agenda.
Yes, and that's also why we want to bring somebody in that can give us a high level training, or, you know, I mean, an overview. I don't even know how to, because you can't get in the weeds with this stuff. And then knowing what we all know, we are responsible for doing the best we can, and all of us being alerted that, hey, we can't be talking about this, or wait a second, we're 3 of your meeting, or, whatever the situation is, so.
So Rose, you are prepared to do more than read a few lines out of Becky's email, or more?
I'm not going into the sunshine laws any further,
Okay.
specifically the sunshine laws. I will be talking more about what it means to be a commission, different things that are expected of us. Talking about that exact rule, like if we say that we're gonna stop, can we continue to talk? Like what are all those little side rules that we need to know about?
And getting somebody in to.
What do other commissions do for that?
We can look into this. I will also look into all that.
I don't
wanna make
think the
sure-
other commissions.
At the same time, I don't want anybody to feel afraid about saying anything in our meetings. We are all volunteers here. We're not expected to know everything about everything, and we can make mistakes.
Well, I think all the other commissions are in the same position as this one.
Yeah.
And it might be beneficial to have a Saturday workshop for everybody.
That's a good idea.
Through the town.
The only board that operates differently is the planning and zoning, because they have some decision-making capabilities, and all the other ones are advisory.
Yeah, they do the training that's out there, so it might be beneficial to do it.
Yeah.
And that would be like an annual thing too, so
And
that
to
the
do
new members.
both online and in person, and online is like intro to the subject, and then that would be in person as well. I really would bring you for a look in that training.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I would work every year, you have to go through these trainings.
It's just a lot.
Computers,
Sometimes
computers,
Saturdays is a lot to ask
social
of people that are volunteering a lot of their time already. I would love to
Figure it
do
out there,
that.
it doesn't have to be-
No, I love it. I think it's a great idea. I would go. I'd love to be trained. I
Okay.
just want to thank people for the time that they're already offering as volunteers and that kind of thing. I think it'd be a great idea. Even biannually. That's all I have in my world. Becky, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I'm just gonna tell you guys to tread carefully. Don't do any legal stuff. Don't, Rose, and just don't do it. It's not worth it. You don't have the background in it, and you shouldn't do it.
Well, I appreciate your advice, and I would also appreciate your advice in the future if I have questions. And maybe I'll continue to call you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Stay.
No.
Cheers. Thank you for coming today. Thank you. Bye.
Have we heard from
Amy?
the Bob and those guys know we're over here?
Yeah, I did talk.
Okay.
But I think our doors are locked, so that's what I just.
Reservation Commission, they haven't seen.
Why are we here instead of over there?
There was-
Lucky.
There was a mix-up and
Technicalities, there was the calendar just stopped working, and so people were able to book during our times.
And there's a big Latino thing with state representatives and stuff like that.
Over there?
Over there tonight. Yeah, so for some reason, our commission meetings didn't populate the calendar or the booking space or something like that, so they're working on resolving that.
What kind of meeting they have, you said?
Garfield County Latino or something.
I think they are.
And I think, and that's where I think.
Okay.
Hi, Rich, we really don't want you to come. Oh, that's on recording now.
No.
Come on in.
The corner.
Nobody was there.
Get a dunce cap? There's no camera in here, so you can make all the faces you want.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out there for.
This will feel honored, we don't lock everybody out.
Send him a text to see if he knows.
So we're still on item 4. Are we done with?
No, I think unless somebody else has.
Well, I thought, was there some training we were gonna do tonight?
That is it.
I was just kind of going in an overview of what the trainings are going to look like, and that sometimes I'm going to be pulling in professionals, and sometimes I'm just going to be pulling out my own knowledge. But I did want to give you a background of.
But
what
there's
that
nothing
policy
tonight.
was.
We'll start.
Well, I feel like we kind of learned a little bit about sunshine now.
Tread carefully.
I'm trying carefully, sunshine, it's open.
Maybe what about you contacting the town attorney and ask him to kind of lay out the bullet point thing that you would be able to bring to us so that we don't have to.
No, that's what, that's
They were
what
very
exactly
specific,
what's
I can't
important.
do that. If it's a law, I can't teach you it.
Well,
Don't quite understand. That's okay. I don't have to.
Well,
you'd be doing only telling us what the town attorney
Yeah,
has,
that's secondhand.
no,
can't do secondhand.
You can do that from an online. training.
There, you know, and
We're
there,
not asking questions, we're just being told this, and that about the law.
right, and there are 4 quick links in your resource guide that go to sunshine laws. Yeah, and,
I just want us to also
and
understand it.
and several of them were pieces that, hey, you know, sent. And so, you know, but to get somebody in here that's versed in that can answer our questions, you know, and guide us a little bit of what we can, can't do, you know, it really needs to be somebody with that kind of background. And it sounds like there are attorneys
Yeah,
in
she
the
gave,
valley. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I spoke with Becky today after I saw the email to get her advice on getting some contacts in that world. And she actually gave me a contact right at the bar association level to get trainer.
What do folks think about having the attorneys develop operating procedures? It seems that we've spent an inordinate amount of time on sunshine law discussions and arguments. Instead of training in that, just directly develop the procedures. And then if we just follow the procedures, we don't have to go over this all the time.
Yeah.
I like that. Follow the procedure and this is what we're saying. I like it.
Meetings should approximately do this. Inner, subcommittee discussions or one-on-one should do this. Announcements should do this, and then we can just leave this alone.
We wanted to turn it into a
That's
drinking game, Brian. Come on.
That's on recording now.
Sunshine game.
I mean, there's just been a lot of sunshine law stuff, and it's kind of getting in the way of other things.
Very true, agreed.
I know
So
Bob's
Brian just
coming,
did you
but
hear that
do you
on
have his
Thursday?
cell number?
Yes, I want me to give a call.
Yeah, I want you to give him a call, just make sure it didn't get locked out.
Eric, is somebody around that can watch the doors
No,
beside
we're-
you so we
we're
can go
closed.
on to the house?
No, we're closed. So-
I'll just sit right there. I can move my chair. No big deal.
Oh, yeah. you can sit right there.
Yeah, because I think Val's with us, so do you guys mind if we go on to the next topic and then come back to you? Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Okay, let's do that then, Eric.
And then Eric, Brian had a good idea of instead of like just talking about these sunshine laws over and over again, we could talk to the town attorney and whoever this trainer is about developing procedures that we can do instead of
Sure, like, yeah, paper
procedures, so we can
Procedure.
follow.
So procedures, and the piece I'm interested in is what constitutes a meeting. That's the, if it's a meeting, we're just bringing up an idea, is that a meeting? We're just brainstorming, is that a meeting? Or is it when we're discussing an item on an agenda, making a recommendation or a motion about it? Where does the sunshine law happen?
That's a good,
And they can develop that as part of the definition section of the procedures. Like this is really, really vanilla stuff with respect to having, we talked about having actual lawyers talk about legal interpretations. This happens in contracts all the time. Like there's a definition section that talks about what is what, and then there are particular elements discussing the handling of those things. We should just do that.
okay, and for the sake of efficiency and maybe not, are we done with that? Are we done with that piece of that? And we're gonna move forward, we're gonna skip and come back to the Marketplace Lofts. So we're gonna talk with Val. Thanks for being with us, Val. I know you're on
Hello, everyone.
about pickleball.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, we're kind of off camera tonight, Val.
That's okay. That's okay. I want to start by saying that I'm sure that you all know that we paid off the remainder of the debt earlier or in September. And so we're pretty happy and pretty proud of that. So the courts are at least have been paid off by RFPA. So that's really a good thing. Yay! Yes, absolutely. Our membership in 2019 was 119 members. In 2020, after the courts were completed and actually during COVID, our membership jumped to 165 members. This year in 2021, our membership is now 264 members. Yes, it is growing by leaps and bounds. One of the things that we offer as a club, and it's actually only been by word of mouth, is we have a pickleball 101 class, and we had it twice a week for 4 weeks. And at every single one of these, and it's in the evening, so it doesn't affect any open play time or get in the way of anything else that's going on out there. But at every one of these lessons, we had at least 12 people. And probably half of those join the club. Now, granted, we probably have about 60 members that are summertime only members, meaning, oh, somebody's coming into town for 6 weeks and they don't want to pay a $10 drop-in fee every time. So they end up buying a membership, or, you know, they're visiting family, and so that kind of thing. But I think solidly we have easily 200 members, and I expect that to grow, gosh, by at least another 100 for next season. If you go by the courts at all, they're constantly in use. It's nice to have the Darien courts as overflow, because I'm telling you, on any given day, every single court is used, and then we probably have, on the busier days, which would be the weekend, we probably have 12 to 16 people waiting to play. So it's been an incredible asset to Carbondale and to RFPA and to the folks that want to play pickleball. It's the fastest growing sport in the world, I think. So it's been great. The tournament that we had 115 participants and then a lot of volunteers that were members. So each day we probably had close to, I would say Saturday we had close to 200 people out there. Sunday was probably a little less. 150, and Saturday it rained, but it didn't seem to put a damper on anything. We were able to dry those courts off quickly, and people resumed play, and it seemed to go really, really well. So it was fabulous, and it brings a lot of people to Carbondale. A lot of people went out to eat. The one thing I would try to do better for next year that I didn't get a lot of this year was participation from like some of the restaurants. You know, give me a 10% off coupon or a $2 off coupon, so that participants that are coming from other places or just are hungry because it's the end of the day or whatever, you know, have a place to go because, oh, look, I got this coupon. So that's one thing I would like to see if we can't get more of that for next year. I'm hoping to have 2 tournaments next year. One would be in August, and one would be in September, the August one being a bigger tournament. We want to now make this tournament a little bit bigger. We're hoping to get maybe 250 participants, but in that scenario, of course, I'm not taking it on. We would hire it out. But this year it was our first, so myself and another member, we ran the tournament and it went really well. I think that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me. Anybody?
Anybody have any questions for Val?
For me, Val, this is Eric. I just, when you'll have the date set, we're going to do our special event task force meetings coming up here in November. And so that's when we put together our entire special event calendar for 2022. So will you have dates set by that time?
Oh, absolutely. The dates for the August tournament, we want to have the same weekend, which would be the third weekend in August. We'd like to make this an annual event so that people, the thing about pickleball and tournaments is that people tend to schedule, in May, they schedule their July tournaments, because what happens a lot of times is that a lot of these tournaments fill up. So if you don't register early, you can't get in. And so the bigger the tournament is, which is, again, like I said, we want to get it a little bit bigger this year. We want to keep it at the same date so people don't have to go, when is that tournament? When was that? But if we keep it the same every year, then it becomes ritual for people to go, yep, I want to go to that Carbondale tournament. That was so fun. Let's go back there. Those courts are great. Let's play there. So the August one, I want to do the same time, which would be the third weekend in August. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the dates are. And then in September, we'd like to go back and do the Alpine Series tournaments, which the town of Carbondale had put on before, and see but that's a smaller tournament. It's more like what we did this last August, so it's not as grandiose as what we're hoping to get next year. So, but it's part of the Alpine Bank Series, and they do tournaments in Delta and Montrose and Grand Junction, Steamboat, Carbondale. And I think that's it. So I will have those dates for you by November. I don't know when that meeting is, but let me know and I'll have those dates for you.
Okay, good. Thanks.
You bet.
Val, this is Hollis. I have a question about that. Maybe I just wasn't hearing correctly. The one in September, then would that be, is that part of the circuit then with some of these other ones with Montrose? And I mean, you guys all circuit around, and September would be Carbondale's part of the circuit?
Correct. Now, again, this is the one that Carbondale's traditionally had every year in September. It's part of that series.
How many people does that bring in from out of town?
The
September one.
Well, traditionally that one hasn't, at least in the past, it's had a few folks we've had folks from Delta, from Montrose, but traditionally that one has been more local. I think the last time, actually Will put it on, and I think there was about 90 to 98 participants. So it's a little bit smaller. And I'm not sure if that's because of the time of year, or I'm not sure what the advertising is on that. I personally would like to grow that a little bit, like I said, at least over 100 like we had on this last tournament, and advertise it through all these other venues, because it is part of a series. I believe that Junctions is in June. Steamboats is in July. Delta, I can't remember. Montrose is in June. So, yeah, that's definitely part of a series.
So how many people from Carbondale participate in go to these other towns and participate in the series?
A lot. A lot. Typically, we have a pretty decent showing of RFPA members that go to these other places and play in these tournaments. You know, it's hard to say, but I would guess probably 12 to 16 teams, and that's a team of 2. Because you have to find your partner and sign up with your partner. You know, that's how you do a tournament. So that would be my guess, 12 to 16, depending on when it is. You know, the hotter that it is, the fewer people go. So the Montrose one sometimes can be really hot. Junction can be too. That's why they do them earlier in the year. But we typically have a pretty good showing of people that go to these other tournaments.
Okay, so what I'm trying to wrap my mind around is if the September tournament gets built up, and you've got 24 to 32 people coming in from 4 or 5 different towns. Is that possible that we could build, and then it would be an influx of that many people coming in for a weekend tournament?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially on these courts. You know, as the word gets out, again, you know, last year we had 165 members. This year we have 264. As the word gets out that these are premium courts and that they're incredible to play on, which they are, more and more people want to come and play, especially in a tournament, because you can't come and play, you know, every day or every other day or whatever. It's too far away. But a tournament, you're like, I got to go. I want to go see how how they play, how they run this, you know, so it's definitely a draw. These are the best courts between Grand Junction and Denver, if you ask me. So it's definitely a draw.
Okay, so what would help you to grow this? Is there something that in some way that you'd be coming to us to ask for something that could help you grow this, or what?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The good thing is,
just think about it though, and let us know.
Right. Well, the good thing is that we have access to 12 courts when we have a tournament, not just 6. So typically, like what we did with this August tournament was we used all 12 courts. One court was always a warm-up court, so people can go and get warmed up before their games, or if they don't play for another hour, they can go play on there and get warmed up on the Darien courts. And then we use the other courts for the round-robin part of the tournament. And then every medal match was on the Callaway Young courts. So, I really think I'm not sure. I would like to see or like to know, and I don't know where it is on your budget or your agenda or whatever. I had talked to Eric about they're possibly talking about taking care of those cracks in the Darien courts at sometime, hopefully in the near future. But, with access to 12 courts, you really can handle a pretty good sized tournament. So really for us, and we didn't do as much advertising as we could have, I think. But again, it was our first tournament. We kind of kept it in-house to get it going. So this next year, though, I'd like to hire an outside entity to run the tournament. And of course, he would need volunteers, which would come from RFPA, I'm sure. But so we didn't advertise it as well as we could have. But it worked out okay because there was still 115 participants. It was quite busy. So I think everybody enjoyed it and had a good time. And so to grow it bigger, you got to be careful about that because you don't want to get so big for your britches that you end up making people wait and all that kind of thing. So, because that's what you remember about a tournament. That was a great tournament, but I had to wait 2 hours before I could play. So it's kind of a catch-22, but I really think it's about advertising. I'm not sure that the town could do anything to help us grow that, other than word of mouth, let everybody know how wonderful these courts are.
Okay. Okay, good. Anyone else have anything for Val?
Yeah, Val, this is John Williams.
Hi, John.
Speak to the commission that we're really pleased with your ability to grow these courts, and we're really happy that you guys are doing so well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a difficult year, mostly because of COVID and trying to keep everybody well. And then the RVR tennis courts were being resurfaced, and so typically the Darien courts are our overflow when we're really busy, but with the RVR repair, that kind of took that away from us, which is, it is what it is. But so I'm giving it one more year for myself, and then hopefully we'll get another president in here that can hopefully do a better job than I'm doing. But it's all good. We're doing great with RFPA and the town, and I don't really see any issues unless you guys do. Unless Eric, you have anything you want to talk to me about?
No, we do have some new commissioners, so I just want to make sure they know that we have a memorandum of understanding relationship with the Fork Pickleball Association. So that's a document that really lays out the rules and the responsibilities of each entity. So
right.
As everyone see that, we can show that to you so you can understand how that works.
Right, absolutely. And it seems to be working fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And right now they have we negotiated 28 hours of exclusive use of the Callaway Young courts for the Fork Pickleball Association. And it's set up in a tiered priority list of who gets it first, who gets it second, who gets it third. And so we're since it is a town courts, the Parks and Rec department is number one on that list. And then the second person on that list is Fork Pickleball Association as far as access to those courts in that priority list. So I just want to make sure that new commissioners understand that relationship. But it's working very well.
It is. And like I said, I expect actually more members next year. So it's grown like crazy. I mean, like I said, if you have any doubts, drive by those courts. There's always somebody on them.
Val, thank you so much, and congratulations for all your successes, and
Thank you.
for paying off the courts and everything. That's huge, and y'all should be very proud of your accomplishments.
Thank you very much. We are, and like I said, everything is going great. We don't have any issues, and you guys have a great evening, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Everything you do.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Mitch, any luck
Where are we at, Rich?
I just talked about he's admin on campus for
Family grand.
he thought it was tomorrow.
Sounds like
So when he got my text. So he should be here in 5 minutes. Can I make a comment, like public comment?
You bet. Yeah.
I did the plan for the pickleball court. I also did a plan, there was a master plan for town of Carbondale and Oregon School District. It was done back in 2014,
Yeah,
something like that. And that little area where the court is was slated for under 10 soccer. And I mean, I guess maybe there's not a demand for that, but pickleball court got put there, and so that's gonna happen. So I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, I guess you're familiar with the plan.
Yeah.
But when, in planning, I guess, do you refer back to that? Or?
I was on the commission at the time I was here. Oh, and John, we did refer to it. We did really debate. We waited and thought we could accommodate needs elsewhere in the town, but this was the only place we could accommodate.
Yeah, I think pickleball courts are great. They get a lot of use.
But we didn't leave.
Yeah, and we had a good design charrette public meeting and brought in all of the users of any open space in the town, from the bike polo guys to the cross guys to the frisbee guys, golf guys, to everybody who's having an open space park in the town, and had a pretty good design charrette.
That's great. I think the master plan could be evolving too. That was trying to consolidate already one, see how we can get more parts. Needs and things change.
And what came out of that meeting, which was kind of interesting, was the use of our outfield at Bill Hank for alternate use than softball and baseball. So right now there's an adult soccer move that happens out in the outfield of the Bill Hanks, because our programming, our baseball and softball program is over. They have lights, they can play at night. So there's an adult soccer league that's happening out there.
We also, moving into one of the things you're discussing with the RSP, evaluated futsal on the site, which we probably hadn't evaluated prior to that. So we did kind of space that out to see if that could be a location for that in the future.
Yeah, that's big. Well, that's what we had kind of proposed for lot one.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can do. So do you want to go to the next item? then?
Yeah, Eric, if you want to
Sure.
touch on the aquatics facility update.
Yeah, so I can talk about that. It won't take me very long. Just let everybody know where we sit there. So finance department, with our original RFP to get a bonding company involved, an underwriter involved in the creation of the ballot language and the bond itself. We had two replies to that RFP. One reply was suggested that we do certificates of participation, and in the RFP, we said that's not the way we want to go with the bonding of that large capital improvement project. So the second one gave us a good proposal, but finance looked at that and said, we missed a step here. We missed a step of talking to a financial advisor before this RFP went out. And so right now we're back to that point. And so we actually have an RFP that's out. We have interviews tomorrow with 3 different firms that are financial advisors that would be working for us, advising us on the entire bond question process. And so that's where we are right now. The interesting part about this is it's moving pretty fast. The deadline to get something on the ballot for April 2022 is December 31st. So this will be a very fast-paced RFP interview process, hiring process to get a financial advisor working with us. So we have 3 firms that have put in proposals. 2 are from Denver, Hilltop Securities and Piper Sandler. And then one called UMB is from Kansas City. So we are actually Zoom interviewing them all tomorrow. And so it's a pretty fast-paced process. We'll get a financial advisor on board working for us to then go back out an RFP for a bond. So that's where we are. What did I do with that?
So you have to
Yeah.
get a financial advisor to advise you on how to get a bond underwritten.
Yeah, because what finance felt is that we just moved a little bit too fast there, and so it wasn't as competitive of a process as they would have liked. And so they feel that to do that, get a competitive process, is to hire a financial consultant that can evaluate bond market debt management. This is kind of out of the RFP, maintaining and establishing credit ratings. That was the stuff that was feeling like it was moving too fast. Managing actual bond issuance for the town, specifically related to the Aquatics facility too. It felt like, that was missing from the original RFP.
I think when we talked, you said that the way the rules are now, you can't have one agency do two parts of it. They have to, there has to be a law between the advising and the bonds.
Yeah.
And that's part of.
And that's, yes, this advisor can be that second piece of that. So we'll find out tomorrow, by interviewing these three firms,
And then you'll put out the RFP for the bonding, underwriting again.
Yeah.
And hope to get more applicants.
Yep. So these
guys will help.
Yep, that's part of their kind of scope of work for the RFP that they're going to be assessing.
So these two respondents to the RFP are fine with this delay?
Yeah, in the RFP, it's written that, you don't have to make a decision. You can stop the process.
Okay.
If you want to.
Nobody's going to be suing us because we promised something.
Any other questions on that?
I have one. Where's the pool supposed to go? Is it where their existing pool is?
Yeah.
Seems to me like that's prime real estate. You can sell that property and build a commercial building there and take that money and build a pool and another piece of property.
Yeah, we just completed a kind of a master plan. GoCo funded master plan, and that was one of the biggest questions that plan actually answered. So, through surveys and many public meetings. So, so it's a good question. It was answered that is the preferred location.
Okay. So, now Tracy's on her way. That's okay. She's okay. She's away. Okay. Hi, Rich and Bob.
Hi, Hollis.
Welcome. So, you okay?
Sprinted down the hill.
I thought we locked you out. Sorry.
I'm trained like animal to go Thursday nights to PNZ. So that's why Briston won't be here, because I said, oh, no, that's tomorrow night, even though it was on my calendar for tonight.
Calendars are wonky today.
My calendar isn't wonky, my brain.
Well, I'm glad you made it down.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
So there's, I think, mostly new faces since we were here in 2018.
And Bob, just so you know, we're recording this. We are on Zoom, so you guys have to talk really loud. So
Okay. Where's the
so
microphone?
Katie's microphone can pick up.
Yeah. So we came in 2018, just sort of courtesy and sharing about the proposal. The area that we're talking about is between the new city market and Main Street. There are one building is open and occupied. The second one will be occupied January 1st. The one at the corner of Hendrick that's under construction now will be done next fall. And then the buildings that will frame this park will be done about that same time, by late 2022. So that will be 7 of the 11 buildings that will be done by the end of next year, if everything goes according to plan anyways. The issue that we ran into is that when we saw you in 2018, we were doing a private common area, and so we came to brainstorm and just share. In 2019, the town changed the UDC unbeknownst to me, and made it so that condominiums had to comply with the public rather than private open space. So in this particular situation, the buildings are framing this. We've always had this stormwater storage facility underneath the park. And when we have this futsal field that is a part of it that has a high construction cost and pretty high maintenance. So we shared the plan for the park that Rich has drawn up. There's a passive element, and then there's a picnic gazebo, and then there's the futsal field. And the proposal at hand to try and walk this tightrope between the plan we drew up based on the old code and now the new situation is to have it be a public park, but have the owners of the apartments still own the land and have the responsibility for the operations and maintenance. There would be an agreement between the town and the landowner for the rights and responsibilities related to that. And I think the town has a little bit of experience with this. And so we can take whatever we learn from those experiences and craft an agreement. The included in when we do the condominiumization, it's not a condo like there's a bunch of units and you're selling units. It's all apartments, and it is all owned by the same person. But in order to finance the buildings as they're built, he needs to have separately financeable segments that a bank can hold the note on. So Kristen, the owner, started with American National Bank, and their lending capacity that they're allowed to do is not enough to finance this whole project. So we have to go to Alpine or somebody else. And so now we need to break it up so that they have something that they're holding a note on. And so that's why we're doing the land condominium process. So before we go any further with that, we met with Janet and Eric and thought that the next step was to come here and share the idea and see what your thoughts were. And if you're of a mind to go down this road, maybe share with Eric things you want to make sure we address in the agreement, and then we can bring the agreement back later on and kind of work through whatever the issues are. We'll have public access easements. We have public parking on Main Street on Hendrick, and at the meeting that we met with Janet and Eric, there was a suggestion to put some public spaces on Shorty Paps as well. So we're going to add those in. So there will be 3 sides of the property that have public parking. And then a lot of people will use City Market, even though we won't obviously encourage people to do that, but just the reality is.
And you're also allowed to see into that parking.
The interior parking, most of it's going to be assigned. There will be some guest spaces, but most of it will be assigned for apartments. So there, if you go to a place and it'll say for unit A7 or something, there's some guest parking, but it won't be everything.
Can I ask just about bike access?
So it's not very easy to show this. I don't know, but there's a trail connecting Main Street to where the bikes would go right in front of City Market. You know how there's bike parking right in front. So there will be a 8-foot.
Yes.
8-foot wide trail from Main Street that goes right through this park and then continues on and crosses the City Market parking lot to put you right where the bike parking is, so that the bikes don't have to go out on Hendrick.
Is this what you guys are looking at?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, okay, so
Are you talking about that pathway that comes like across the playground to the football courts? Where it's saying the ADA
No, it's-
walkway?
It's to the east of that, on the east side of the property.
On the right side of your
It
drawing,
runs north-south,
Okay,
and that connects Main Street to City
Oh.
Market
okay.
through the property.
there,
So I think we talked about putting bike racks on there, but that hasn't been added yet.
Wait a minute, Main Street, are they going through the roundabout?
They would come from past probably 200 feet down Main Street from the roundabout through the property up to City Market.
so you would cross Hendrick, the new extension of Hendrick that goes out to City Market.
I'm trying to picture this.
West
That's a roundabout.
behind what's the True Value or Ace, that Hendrick Road comes up there.
Yep.
Crosses in. So if you took a left on that intersection and went down, you could cut through the property. It bisects the property.
There's,
Is this, so this is your new proposal, and this is the old one?
it's the same.
That
Okay, it's the
shows-
same, this is just the
It's
blow.
more
up of this
conceptual,
area.
yeah. But you can
So
see
that's
on
what I'm
that one,
trying to see, so north is this way?
right,
North is the tank and south is
so
Sopus.
you can see
So
that path
north
that kind of bisects
Is,
the property.
north is this way.
Yes.
Yes,
So you've got the bike path is on this side of it.
right.
If you look at that other plan, it kind of shows where it connects to Main Street and where it connects to City Market.
So are there pass-throughs between all these buildings?
There are, on Hendrick, there's one pass through, and on Main Street, that main.
That one pass-through?
And there are sidewalks, so all of the sidewalks that are along the parking areas that you see are all public. So somebody who's coming from any one of those directions.
So are these playgrounds, this green space here off Main Street?
It's a little pocket park.
And then this other one off of
That was originally a playground.
the grocery store
We
side?
moved the playground to this main park.
The-
This playground,
That's gonna be an open space kind of
It's got-
pocket park there.
that's gonna be open space park.
And then the
This is an
playground.
open space park.
That one's more of an art park, so we're looking at a mural on the side of the building there and maybe a couple of sculptures and a kind of a passive seating area.
But that's a green space between these buildings and the parking lot.
Yes.
And then on Hendrick, there's another little pocket park that where you,
Hendrick?
yes, in between the
Oh, there?
buildings. There, yeah, that's we cut through.
So, okay, so there's a pocket park on Main Street and a pocket park on, I don't know what the street is.
Grocery store side.
But to be clear, the one that we're talking about in terms of the public, the 15% is the one in the center.
Yeah.
Central Park, yeah.
Now, you guys at one time had talked about, like gardens, community, food gardens, community gardens, so that would be just for the residents. So do you
Yes.
still have that in your plans?
You know,
or-
we'll figure that out when we get to the detail on the parks along Main Street in Hendrick.
The other pocket parks then? Okay,
Yeah, it wouldn't be in the central one. There's,
so we have, we really want to go back then to the whole, black and white crazy drawing. Because that's the part you're talking about, really.
right.
Right, well, something that I looked up today, so all of these other peripheral parkways and all that kind of trees and everything, the landscaping all around it, that contributes to their 10%. But this is so big and has so much residential, it's really falls under the 25% rule. So 15% is this park and 10% is this like green space all around, these little pieces all around outside.
I don't know about a 25% rule. We do have 25% open space in the project, but the requirement is 15 in the mixed use zone district. And the
15% to be the form of public dedication, with 10% required to be private common open space. to a total of 25%. Did I read that right, Eric?
Well, but I included in the packet all of the things that
Right.
that make up that 10%.
I was just saying, all these other
landscaping,
little, all these,
that
it's not,
stuff.
it's like all these other little pieces, this little pocket park around the trail access and green spaces around the buildings and the walks, and that all is part of the
Yeah, that all
10%
counts.
10% requirement for private open space. That they are meeting.
I think we're above.
So this guy. What's the road?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
Sorry. So I think that the question you're coming to us with is about the memorandum of understanding about the agreement with the town. And I think it would be useful, Eric, for you to share with the group where else we have that in town, like RVR, and what's within that.
Yeah, so RVR in Orchard Park and also in Triangle Park, it's the same type of scenario here where it's a public park that is maintained in perpetuity by River Valley Ranch. And so, so we do have a precedent set here. We have an opportunity also to look at this, arrangement with this and make sure we're fixing some of the challenges we have with that relationship. And some of the challenges with that relationship is when the language in that agreement is that they maintain it at the level that it was originally built. And so if we wanted to add anything at a later date, then all of a sudden that becomes a town, necessity if we want to add anything. So they can maintain it at that certain level. So they just replaced the two playgrounds there, and that's part of the agreement. When that playground sees its end of life cycle, there's a replacement need. So they replaced, like we couldn't say, well, we want this type of playground if it was different than what was existing there. And so that kind of ties your hands a little bit on the future of what you can do. So that's something we can talk about, how that language would look in the long run too. The other challenges there are some of those parks aren't abiding by some of our other parks' existing rules and regulations. And I'm thinking mostly about our integrated weed management plan now that we got passed. And so they actually, are not falling underneath that plan. They have the ability to hire out a subcontractor that can do whatever means and methods that they want to take care of that park. So we'd like to, kind of button some of that stuff up when we have the opportunity to this juncture of this project. So those are just a couple of things. It'd be nice to talk about with the future MOU to kind of figure some of that stuff out. The other thing, if this becomes a public park with RVR, we have the ability to rent out those spaces. So, and that's great. We take that burden kind of off RVR, right? And that's what we do. So that seems to work out pretty well. And that's a question I have for you guys tonight. Really, is this futsal court, this kind of gazebo, picnic shade shelter area? Is that something that you would be willing to rent out to the public, for birthday parties or even futsal court, soccer team? That's the question I had for you guys tonight. How are you feeling about that type of relationship with the public park?
I think those are the things that we just work out in the agreement, and we draft it up and run it through all the people that need to look at it. And I'm not in a position to dive into the details of this. I know what Bristan's kind of core interests are, that it looks nice, and that it's maintained in a way that is consistent with what he hopes to do with the property, and that if there's some kids smoking weed out there, his property manager can go over there and say, hey, go find someplace else. And so those are the kind of things that from his end. And I think for something like if there was a tournament or something, we got a big parking hurdle to overcome. But in terms of if there's a league or something like that, where you can space it out, and then that seems like something that could benefit everybody. there's, from what I understand, a lot of interest in futsal, and that's kind of how we started down this road. There was a lot of excitement. Briston used to own the Garfield Apartments, and his client there were, the renters were all Hispanic, and he just, the ingenious little soccer fields that got created in the little common area there, just all of this added up to, let's do a futsal field. And so I don't see anything that at this point sound like bright lines of no. I do think that anything we do, the scale is going to come into play, because there's, probably 15 parking spaces that are going to be regularly accessible. So if that's a couple of teams at a time playing, that seems mission possible. If it's, we're going to have an all-day tournament and 20 teams, this site's probably, maybe there has to be some agreement with the city market or something, because I don't think there's going to be the parking for that use.
My concern would be just to think about as this is drafted up, with RVR, the playgrounds did get in pretty bad shape before they were addressed. The town does have a playground inspector, so making sure that agreement is worked out. And I don't know who's doing the maintenance of what, but wood chips are raked up regularly to keep fault zones functioning and things like that. I think that's one thing that got a little bit overlooked in the previous spring. I think it's making sure that maintenance aspect is really considered for the playground.
Currently, this is planned for pour in place, similar to what we have at the middle school, which has worked out pretty great, I think, so far. I don't know what the lifespan of that is.
And they're making some products that repair it too, then.
Patch it.
Yeah, patch and overlays, yeah.
We're talking the football court or the playground?
The playground. So there's this area of the property is slated for playground, and we're in the process of picking the playground equipment. So we basically identified the area that's going to have the fall zone, and they wanted to be port place rubber.
And so it's also the water retention?
Underneath that is, yes, it's a large structure to hold stormwater for like a big event.
And
so the slope, so these are elevation lines, contours. So what's the slope? So this side is really, it's pretty steep over here.
And this is a berm, and this is there to kind of hide the cars that are parking under. Building J is an interesting building. It's on stilts with parking underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So this berm would be there to kind of not completely block, but start to block the cars. Maybe it's only about 3 feet high.
I was gonna say, what are these contours?
They're 1 foot contours.
1 foot, so 1 foot all the way up. So the berm is like 5 feet high.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
And then it goes. So the grade from the edge of the berm to the deepest part of the playground is.
It's pretty minimal there, like 3 or 4%. This swale kind of running across the property to that area drain is 2%. And then the playground itself is just fairly flat. It runs from the corner of the futsal court down to just.
so if you're looking at your drawing, we're looking at a line that is on a diagonal, and to the north of it is the grade playground area, and to the south of it there's the berm that we were just talking about towards the still houses. And there's a kind of looks like a contour line, but it's actually it's directing water to an inlet to that stormwater system.
Is that what's in the shadowy lines underneath?
Correct.
So the stormwater, it gets water from the entire parking lot. It's a pretty big structure.
Oh, okay.
And it's already in place. That's been built, and the site has been rough graded, but there is still time. So like if we start this process to, talk about the equipment and so forth before we lock all that.
Right.
Can I ask, what's the boring
whatever kind of playground that you're talking about?
It's like a crumb rubber that they have, kind of like a glue. So they pour it in and smooth it out and it sticks in place.
Bouncy.
Is this the base?
It's what's underneath the rock.
Okay. Oh, so you're talking about the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
floor.
porous, water goes through it.
Okay,
But
that's not what the structures are made.
no, no.
I was like, well, see, I mean, yeah, sorry, I don't know the details of these things in the specific, that's why I'm asking. So you're talking about the base of that, okay,
Yeah.
the floor of that, and then you're trying to figure out like what swing sets and stuff like that.
And you can look at some at the middle school too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a form
Yeah.
place.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, okay. No.
And I raised that because, some like the hippo park or whatever.
Yeah.
The swings are this high because there's not
Right.
enough stuff under them.
Yeah.
Over the,
Yeah,
Right,
right.
The mulch is just, like you said, you have to go back every year and add to it.
Yeah.
It gets all over the place,
Yeah.
kids throw it, and it's kind of messy.
Right.
So they wanted to kind of keep it clean and done.
And is this pour and play stuff, is this like ADA accessible then, where, we all, okay, good, all
It's
that
just
stuff.
too expensive.
Uh-huh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
we've
gonna
got
thank
a
you for that.
concrete sidewalk that goes to the gazebo, so that's all ADA,
Yeah.
it's under 8%.
Mhm.
And then we have a lawn area to the south of the playground, but we're trying to minimize the amount of lawn because we don't have a lot of water to use.
Right,
So outside of that lawn area where these berms are and around the futsal court will be native grass and drought tolerant plant materials so that we could really minimize the amount of irrigation we're using. So the lawn is a big user of irrigation and that's, confined to this one area.
okay. And as you guys are looking at the playground, have you looked at any kind of universal design equipment or something, that's a little bit, it's more ramped up than ADA, is that correct? And also maybe things for other sensory. So whatever, that's the things we're starting to look at now within our master plan.
Just the is a goal of ours.
Okay. If we could get something from you guys, like some kind of something in writing about that, and I can present that to the owner. And then he's in the process of selecting right now, so it'd be good to have that information.
Are you looking at, as far as the age group, you're trying to satisfy 2 to 5 year old equipment, or is it the 2 to 12 year old that are expanding?
I think he's trying to get a range
Okay.
of a little of each. So, I mean, it's a pretty big area right now. That's 3,300 square feet. So.
Is it all that big square that's got the dots and stuff on it?
That's the.
No, it's
That's
the gray,
irrigation.
kind of the dark gray area in the north.
I see, I see.
That's
That's the one.
Okay.
Stupid question, I can't read these numbers. What's the width of the football court?
It's 60 feet and it's 104 feet long.
What's the surface of that roof?
That would be a synthetic grass. So that's also porous, water goes through. Not sure what the lifespan is on that, but it's kind of what they have up at Aspen for their football field.
It expands your seasonal use.
Yeah, you can just, if you can get the snow over there in the winter, you can play on it. So,
So it shows a fence that's only wraps around like a C at the two ends.
right.
Is there a reason not to extend it?
Most of your errant shots are going off the end. I think the idea was to keep the balls from going out into the parking lot.
Well, on the one side, you've got a berm, right?
That's
This side is more of a swale. This is for drainage. They're coming off of building K and L and around the court.
I was looking at this over here.
Yeah, that's a swale.
That's down.
And then it goes back up to the building. So, any shots that go out here, the kids have to run out of that area and get the ball. But we're really trying to keep them from going out in the parking lot.
Well, it's on this, and then on this right side, or the east side. So that's like a picnic table area.
Mhm.
So,
Gazebo.
it is, I don't know what this game is, or is it envisioned that this will be like pickleball courts and it'll be booked up with all the people that want to play futsal on it? Will it be checked out? Will it be,
It's,
will there be empty time on it and kids want to play soccer or lacrosse or something else out there?
I don't know the popularity of it, and I don't know if you guys had any requests.
with the like, I'm assuming you have like goals, right? And would they be like affixed to the ground or would they be?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's steel.
So it's probably like pretty permanently for futsal generally, and not, I wouldn't expect it to be used for like lacrosse or anything like that. I think for lacrosse, they have that little park next to like the Thirsty Center. I know there's some goals over there. But
I'm just thinking, is there ever any time for people to do feral games, pickup games that aren't, you know,
I mean,
leave, whatever?
I think so. I think that the only issue that they like saw was parking really, and as long as it's not like a huge match, like a tournament or something like that.
No, I'm just thinking people who live there or people who are walking over
Oh,
from
yeah.
somewhere else and, oh, nobody's on it.
So, they used to have the hockey court over there in the north face, and nobody ever used it because the boards are too low, I think. So the complaints that I heard for roller inline hockey. But it was used daily by a group of people at the apartments there who played futsal.
Mhm,
And they just did a pickup thing every day.
mhm.
Yeah, every day, probably 5 or 6 o'clock. I would see those.
I'm
guys
just
over there.
imagining 115 units in here, when this is all built out, you've got a lot of people and presumably a lot of people that aren't over 60. You know, that would be, you know, just want to go out and play.
Well, it's kind of like Miners Park where they've got the volleyball courts and basketball courts and people pick up,
Right,
you know,
right.
and do things, play around there. So that's one question I have, Eric, then is, you know, in this MOU, like we have with the pickleballers or whatever, is there, you know, is there something that the town would like, you know, access to those fields for games or classes or something?
Tournaments.
Yeah, well, tournaments, we've already, you know, that's kind of a concern. It's parking space or whatever.
Can I ask a couple questions about parking?
Yeah, hang on one second, though. But Eric, I had a question for you. Is that something you'd be really interested in?
Yeah.
discussing?
I mean, the language in our MOU with other entities that we have them with really lay out a priority list, you know, of that, and so that can switch, you know, then it's not something set in stone.
Okay.
Like when the pickleball ship will build the pickleball courts, you know, and
Yeah.
give you, so okay, you get second priority, you know.
Right.
And that's the way that negotiation worked out, you know, it seems to be working out very well.
So is this something that you would look as a, that you might want to put in the MOU then is, you know,
Yeah,
access
I
to
mean,
this field for actual recreation department activities?
Right, I think that might be flipped in the sense that, you know, the management would have first access to it for whatever happens there with the residents, you know, with the resident lead or whatever, you know, that might be first priority, and then maybe then the public access might be second priority, which would be, you know, then here, you know, youth, you know, that type of scenario.
Okay.
Also, and there would be the reservations, and so if there is to be one, they'll put that.
would they also do that for the like gazebo kind of area for the right of the court? Like, would that be like?
We rent out all of our, you know, parks, picnic shade shelters in our public parks. Yeah, for exclusive use for private parties. So we do rent those out. So we would like, you know, that would probably be a discussion we'd have.
I just want to, sorry, go back to the parking. Yeah. So how many parking spaces per unit do you think we allow?
Close to 2.
It varies there's different requirements for 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. So, yeah, it's anywhere from 1.5 to 2.
And well, how do you, I guess what I'm trying to get to is how do you monitor, you think that you're going to have 15 spaces, but what if you have residents that have more cars than are allowed?
That's up to the management, and Kristen was real clear about that, with their management, that they would take care of, every unit would have a certain amount of spaces, and that's all they're allowed. They can't have any more cars than that. They're pretty strict on that.
There's two types of parking. So there's off-street parking, which is what's required by the UDC for the residents. And then there's on-street parking, which we aren't required to build, but we're building along Main Street, Hendrick, and then these spaces on the northern end that are on Shorty Paps. So those would be public spaces that anybody could use. The parking that's internal to the site would be either assigned to guests or to people living in A7, right? So there's a little sign or a spray paint or whatever it is that they decide to do. But then on the public side, those are
also for retail customers too, right? And you're intending the retail on the base level, right?
on Hendrick.
Oh, just on Hendrick.
Yeah.
Would the town monitor those spaces as far as boats being parked there or RVs being parked there that the town's then responsible to?
The town has 48 hours parking and probably these are some pretty visible spaces as opposed
They
to.
have no enforcement unless it's called in.
What about any kind of electric vehicle spots?
There's conduits being put in as part of the electrical plan. We talked to Core and people like that, and there are ideas floating around. There's grant potentials and things, but nothing that's gone beyond putting in the conduits to allow that to happen. When it happens, we'll see.
Restrooms?
There are no public restrooms at this site.
I just think you're gonna have some issues with city market.
Yeah.
So no public restrooms kind of eliminates the public use of these parks totally. You can't have a league play without a public restroom. There's no, so if there's no public restroom, we just eliminated public use totally. So it's gonna be all for residents. I have a couple questions.
Well, yeah, I think they're bringing up a really important piece. I mean, you guys thought about that at all, even if it's covered porta potties or something?
We have, there's commercial facilities that will have restrooms, but no, we don't at this time have any plan for a public restroom on the site or restrooms or porta potties or anything.
Well, you can't build it out as public park without public restrooms. You can't say public parking, you guys are gonna have to go into this commercial space and ask them to use their bathroom, which they may or may not allow you to use. So are each one of these buildings, are they individually owned by separate people? And they rent out the apartments in that building, or is the whole thing owned by one person?
It's not one person, there's like 3 owners, but yeah.
One group.
One
Yeah, one
LLC
Yeah.
or 10 LLCs.
One LLC.
How many total apartments, at build out, what is there gonna be?
115 apartments and 10,600 or so square feet of commercial.
And how many residents, if you have one person per bedroom, how many residents is the whole build out? In other words, how many bedrooms are there?
Do you remember the number of bedrooms? I think Carbondale is about 2.53 people per household in the census. So if you took 115 times
We have a mix of 1,
2.53,
2, and 3 bedroom apartment.
1 and 2s. Do we have any 3s, Rich? I don't think we have any. I think it's all 1s and 2s. So I think we'd be in the ballpark if you took 2.53 times 115.
This
So,
is based on Carbondale's numbers already existing.
right.
On average.
It's about 290.
And again, what's the dimensions of the futsal court laid out?
It's 104 by 60, and I think the idea was that if futsal turned out to be not a use that was really happening there, it could be a basketball court, it could be a volleyball court, maybe it's multi-court, you could paint different color lines for different uses.
It's about the size of 2 tennis courts. It's a little longer than 2 tennis courts would be.
It's a basketball court size, if you know, 95 by 56 of it. Basketball court.
Well, the tennis court's 36 by 72
Yeah.
lines, and then you got the fence is more. So it's roughly, it would be equivalent to 2 tennis courts counting to the line, so the fence. And the 15% is 15% of the geography of the land use itself, right? It's not a population percentage.
Right.
Footprint, not a occupant space.
No, it's the square footage of the lot.
Of the lot, the footprints.
Well, it seems to me a pretty small part for so many people. My opinion.
Basketball court, well, yeah, so it's like, if you look at the futsal court, it's essentially 3 basketball courts.
So I do just want to say that we are over time and we have couple other agenda items on here.
Yeah.
So maybe like one more comment per person if you have something, otherwise let's wrap it up so that we can get to our other topics.
I know, but they're asking for a decision. What's the decision that we need to make?
Yeah.
A decision.
Really, it's, what do you think we move forward on looking at an agreement with the developers to create a public park? Okay.
I think it's staff support that I would look at it, but it's really hard to have this discussion without having everyone in front of us that starts to outline what would be
Sure.
included. So even if that's just a draft, I really think that's the next step to take this further.
The decision is to get us to that next step, probably, so, yeah.
So, yeah, and also these recommendations about our public toilet and the other thing.
Too small.
They don't support that.
Which comment?
That it's too small.
Well, first off,
It's set by zoning.
yeah,
That's not up to us. That's already a zoning thing and it's been approved and it's on, and the trustees have approved it. So it's like, the question is, the open space that would then fall into,
I think most of
parks and recreation, parks and those kinds of things. And so, and Eric right now is looking for a motion to move forward in drafting an MOU. Would that be an appropriate?
Oh, I'll make a motion to move forward and draft an MOU.
Yeah, it would come.
Rose
come back to
Rosello.
it.
For those
Is there-
Is there a second?
Does staff want to pursue this?
Yeah, I think it's, we have a precedent set, with RVO that works pretty well. And we extended our parkland space with that original process, and parkland space that we use a lot for many different multiple programs. But this is an opportunity to get some additional parkland space for this town.
and are there bathrooms at those spaces?
Yes, so that was a very good question.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Okay, any opposed?
Did you get those?
I'm
You
just
went kind of
gonna
fast.
say,
Abstain? And Ron, did you say?
This is to draft an
This
MOU.
is to draft an MOU. And then where do we go from there, Eric? Do we approve the MOU or we
Yeah,
disapprove the MOU? So it's not the
You'd see it
final
again,
decision.
yeah, you'd see the MOU again for sure. So.
This is like just to get working on the process.
And it
I
might
mean,
be something that is different than MOU too, you know. 'cause it depends on
Right.
how that
But
goes,
at least
but, yeah,
move
just to
forward.
with the process.
In the process of creating the MOU, can we make certain demands such as the bathroom?
We can.
Recommendations. Recommendations.
Yeah, we can ask.
We can ask, that's part of the negotiation process, but, you know, the question is, are we gonna recommend that Eric moves forward in trying to, you know, negotiate with them over creating a public park? That's kind of what we're saying. Yeah. And we, okay, I mean, it's not the final decision on accepting everything, right? I
Right.
understand
We
it.
went maybe a couple rounds with the pickleball.
Yeah.
Most recently.
Yeah. We're tough.
If it's winning, what else do we have to do?
I'm not. I'm gonna talk. So, okay, so there's, Rose has made a motion, and, Ashley seconded, I believe, so all in favor, we already voted for it, but now are we unanimous with now?
Yes.
John, you voted yes or abstaining? Or
I
nay?
can't make an MOU on a public park that's not a public park. It's not, it can't be a public park without a bathroom. I'm really, positive on that. It, pickleballers have access to a bathroom that was already existing.
Okay,
Every park we have in town is a public park. It's part of being a public park is an open space and a bathroom. You can't.
Should we pause this conversation and continue?
no, because we just voted.
So I guess I'm gonna abstain.
So you're abstaining,
Yeah.
okay, and Liz, Lee,
Yeah, no, yes, I'm good. Yes, I'll vote yes.
so anyway, the motion carries.
Did we get Brian?
Brian's not voting.
Oh, that's right.
I think we are missing one and. Anyway, so, okay, well, at least we're moving forward. We can do the conversation. Yep. See what we can work
Awesome.
out.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much for
guys.
your time today, guys.
So anyway, I'd like to encourage you guys to please look at putting on some. I think that's gonna be a
Look at what?
bathroom.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I would think that universal design would.
Oh, something's gotta happen. So Eric and then
Yeah, no,
you get
that's good.
information on that, right?
You have to stand on the terrace.
Well,
Yeah.
And sorry, I know you just got text me, but my husband, he like stepped away from work and has been waiting for 40 minutes. Like, when are you coming back? When are you coming home?
I
So
know,
I almost had to take off.
I was hesitating to, I was like, I think we should wait for Tracy
Yeah.
before we get into this whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how long it was gonna be. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
It's all right.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm a good school.
Yeah, into the quarter on Friday. So I was telling Rose, I actually had a very effective 45 minutes grading out there. So all of this late work is just streaming in of students who like are like, how can I improve my grade? I'm like, well, you have this 5 missing assignments. Don't be one of those. But yeah. So then I have a ton of grading to like do and get through. But yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah. And I called Eric earlier because really the memorandum was, I think, all I like wanted, just like some piece of paper to like reflect. It was so cool to see everything that's been accomplished.
Yeah, and we wanted it to be part of, you know, the public record and let everybody know the amazing things that, you know, were done with you and Becky, you know, on the commission and leading the commission and everything. And it's just, it's amazing. It's just good to not know what you have to say. But I mean,
Well, now I do. I have 3 extra hours a month.
well, you know, really, it's a long-term impact
Yeah.
of, you know, what you all have done for our town that is going to last, you know, for a very, 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 very long time. And sometimes I feel like we get so used to just ticking things off the to-do list and scampering on to the next thing that we don't stop and look at everything that's been.
I brought this out at the rec center, but I'm vaccinated. So I'm like, I'm just like so in school mode that I'm like, wait a minute. I totally was, but I didn't even like.
I was kind of hoping you were
I
going
like,
to.
didn't even acknowledge.
You're like, you know, your whatever thing you had on in that one.
Oh, yes, my full thing, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, for us to be able to like, you know, sit here and look you in the eye and thank you for everything that you've done and the impact that you've made in our town.
Well, it was kind of cool you dropping the hall because we used to have a ton of like the development park allotment, but because we haven't had development really like with a really big realm of the trustee makeup as it was for 5 or 6 years, we didn't really have the like almost that stopped where we were looking at like park allotment and stuff. So kind of cool to see that there's the new development where you can actually be talking about that kind of stuff, you know? Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Cool. So
Right now, we would be doing 5 Point. You know?
Oh, I know.
And so,
Totally.
so yeah, it would be
Yeah,
today,
setting
would
up.
be, yep,
We'd be-
be setting
yeah,
up
I would
for
love
5
to
Point
hear this meeting.
right now.
Totally.
So,
Yep.
so I know you're heavily involved in that too, but all that wouldn't have, 5 Point wouldn't have been able to exist for as many years as it had without that work being done before that. Right when we came on the board, when I came on as a staff member, when you came on
Yeah.
as a commissioner.
Same year, I think,
Yep.
really, right?
We had this place was coming out of the ground, you know. So look at, you know, just looking at 5 Point, what happened because this facility was built. You know?
Totally.
And so
Yeah.
and you've been involved on both sides of that so heavily. I
did
just
5
wanted
Point
to
exist before
mention
this
that.
building?
No,
No.
it came, it's funny because I had like just moved here from Idaho and I didn't know anyone. And then Greg Williams was like, I'm cycling up Ford, you should do it. And then I worked the backbone and so Julie Kennedy like stumbled in and was like, I'm gonna do this film festival thing. And I used to organize volunteers for triathlons in Hawaii, so I went to Hawaii before. And I just fell into it essentially. Yeah, that's true, right? Then I worked with Rose Bristol and that's kind of where that connection came from. Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty cool to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad that 5 Point was canceled this year, but hopefully in April we can make that work. And yeah, we're looking for a new executive director. If anyone knows any great people.
We were talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think I first met you through the bike community.
I think so. Yeah, with bike week and all that stuff.
Super active with that.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, bike week this year, I literally at our private party, I didn't need any liquor license for the record, right? But at our party at Ragged, I'm like, I literally had Remy behind, Ressa on front, and I was like, you know, looking at like pouring beers for like people who were coming up who had raffle tickets and stuff, or you know, giveaway tickets. I was like, well, this is a different thing. This is a different thing, yeah.
But you were still there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That's what's amazing about you, Jason, is you
She doesn't know how to say no, I think.
And when
Girl
she
knows
said,
how to roll
and when
with
she
it.
says yes, she goes all in.
Right.
All in.
Well, that's what they say if you need something done, find a busy person.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, which is I think why I asked you about 5 Point.
Right.
And you too. Yeah.
So we understand.
Yes. Well,
Somebody on your back and somebody on your front.
Yeah.
But I think I told you on the phone, but I do just want to say my own personal thank you because you were a big part of me becoming a part of this commission. And then this commission has just really brought me in as being a part of the town, and that all has a lot to do with your leadership and mentorship in life and just having you in the meetings. And I feel like you were so good. I really appreciate how, first of all, you always introduce yourself. So you were just talking to random people as a random commission member. You say, hey, I'm Tracy. Thank you. You always thank everyone for coming, for their time. Like that was part of like who you were, with like the positivity and like appreciation was always a big part of what you were about to say, whoever it was. And then you would always collaborate some just banging questions that I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I just appreciate you being in the commission with me for so many years and completely voting for me, you're not voting for me. Never mind.
No, I'll never forget you because you're like, vote for Rose.
Right.
Like, I think on the phone or Skyping or FaceTiming or something.
Yeah.
That's like first thing.
But you're a big part of why I'm a huge part of this town now and, you know, working towards eventually city council or whatever. And thank you so much for that mental objective. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And I'm so glad that we get to have a really nice talk about you and talk about everything that you did and have it on the agenda. And I appreciate it that you came.
And I was so excited when I was doing that interview in the airport. Tracy, you're on the board. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Board member. Commissions, I don't know. Oh, wait.
But cycling off, so then you can. Yeah.
You guys are good at it, Bill. You're so gracious with everyone, and I say that from the on both sides of the table, but I really appreciate that. We all look to be more like that when we have guests in the room or on the TV with us.
Thanks. Well, I listened to your last meeting. It was bath time at my house, so I wasn't commenting or doing anything like that, but I did listen. So I'll kind of keep up, pay attention. Maybe that will fade. We'll see. I don't know. I was on it for so long. It's never going to be like a second Wednesday without being like, oh yeah, what time is it? I know, but I think Susan might be right. I might actually fade a little bit. Totally.
They'll text you because the babies will be asleep. You can still have beverages after commission.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Depends on what dorm duties like that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Cool.
Well, thanks everyone.
Hold your horn. I just have this. This is not for me. So Eric, did you want to say? Oh, Eric. did you
Well,
say
it
anymore?
was fun just to, look back through our master plan and look back through our color coding system that we used. And
Very sophisticated.
And so I said, okay, we're gonna pull out all the completed projects, and I had no idea it was gonna be 10 pages,
Yeah, totally.
Once you start diving in there, like, yeah, we did do that. Yep, we've done that. Yeah, we did that. And so I want to just mention that it was a great master plan because we were able to accomplish everything, but it was a great master plan because we were involved in the creation of it.
So we knew what we could accomplish, and what we
Right.
couldn't accomplish. Yeah.
Right, and we actually, because the board was invested, in the master plan itself. You just didn't say, oh, we hired consultants to do that. No, that's not the way you operated.
Yeah.
You had the leadership position. And, you said, no, we can direct this the way to make it successful. So I just want to thank you for that vision too, that you guys had, like, oh, this is a master plan that can actually come to fruition if we direct its direction.
Yeah. And I feel like at that time we really needed one because my early meetings were conversations about putting baseball fields down at the nature park, right? And I think all of us were like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know, do we, and of course we needed them, right? But thinking of how much that has actually served us to like have that, we realized that open space is a really big thing, even though we're surrounded by mountains, like having it in town where people can get a coffee and go walk their dog or go to one of the parties. That's really important too.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
So now we can rest.
Now you guys have a pool.
You have to build a pool.
Yeah.
I know you have to build a pool.
We're going to. Are you still going to be on the pool commission, like our little mini meetings?
I don't think I've ever really been in that because I kind of knew Elise would say no a little bit more for that, but leave me in. Yeah. Keep me on stuff. There's
Like
anything.
events, there's always smaller.
Totally. You all know my email and number and know that I don't say no very well. So, but yeah.
Yeah, we just need 500 volunteers by next weekend.
Oh my God, that's not your job.
That's great.
Probably has a distro list on an email.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
we have
town
to
rallies
get home to
back,
your husband
though.
and your child.
Yes.
I'm gonna take a picture with you and these guys in this beautiful,
Awesome.
certification.
Is there patriotic?
Words don't work for me.
Certificate of dedication to the Town of Carbondale Parks and Recreation Commission. The certificate is awarded to Tracy Wilson for your 14 years of volunteer service to the citizens of Carbondale.
Oh, I think I always cry. One of those people.
And then
I read on my eyes.
put together, you don't have to open this now, but we put together like a little pack of like our very favorite things.
Oh,
for you,
awesome.
To use, and so.
Cool. I
Hope you
hope
enjoy
there's
this
food
and
in here.
Oh, yeah, there should have already happened. Love it. I'll be redundant.
Well, thank you. You all keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Help you too. Thanks for what you
I
do.
love-
I gotta get a picture.
I left my phone by the computer, so I can't even hear if he's like passive aggressively texting me. Right, or aggressive aggressively texting me.
Let's go out here.
Awesome.
That's.
Oh, yay.
There you go. Yay, say, yeah, 14 years.
Yeah.
We still are. We're taking pictures for those who can't see us.
I think Brian cycled off.
Thank you so much, you all. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Bye,
Bye.
Tracy.
You around.
Now we get a minute to cry and then we'll get back to the meeting.
Yeah, and we're over, it's 9:02, but I think we've had a major part of the meeting behind us. So you guys have anything really?
No, I mean,
to share?
that 30, 60, 90s in there, so you can take a look at some of our projects are coming to fruition now and wrapping up, so it's detailed in there, and then some are just starting, so.
Yeah, well, and I was wondering about that. Are some of them gonna turn to blue because it looks like some of them
Yeah.
are green,
Yep.
maybe should be blue.
Like batting cage, fence at White Hill
Yeah.
is done.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Oh, and I did talk to I've been big in the 8th Street thing that's going on, and so I did talk to them about the use of some extra concrete for batting cages. So I would think that could definitely be something to think about.
Okay, cool.
Do that in there at the 8th Street meeting, because they're gonna be using a lot of concrete to make those 6-foot sidewalks.
So you have something on this list of the master calendar that's in October, the integrated view management plan, the subsequent conditions that get planned for next season.
Yeah.
Is that your assignment or is that, it says commission master calendar?
Right, that's not gonna be till November.
Okay.
Or, yeah, probably November.
And what's the budget goals and objectives that's submitted to CSC? Questions?
Yeah, so we have a work session next week about they actually added compared to our normal process with the trustees, they added another budget cycle meeting just to go over the bigger ticket items in the budget, which Parks and Rec is the bigger ticket item.
Is that the staff, Eric?
Yeah, that's just staff. It's just a work session. So, I mean, people are welcome to come to our work session.
It's a trustees work session.
And really, I threw all those things like in August, so it's before you guys were on the commission. I asked him about adding some of the budget. He's like, oh, that's for next year. So we'll be talking about that in November. Okay.
And the work sessions are good to go to, but they don't like it when people do a lot of public comments.
No, it's a work session. Yeah. Are there any other questions for Eric or Jesse? Do you have anything you want to?
We have some upcoming programs and some changes we're gonna make around here, but we'll include that in the weekly report, so you guys can read it there if you want to save time now.
Or they can actually go to the resource guide and do a quick link on the rec center.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we can
We'll
look
do
at
it
the
later on the
program.
website as well.
And I'll bring this up during events, but I just don't love our website for events. I don't love it. I am so ultra involved in events and I cannot find logins for things or when we're supposed to be. I'm like, I'm on the friggin' events committee and I don't know. I can't find like quick find dates. Like if you do searches from other people's computers or do it on like, what's that when you do it when it's like blacked out or what? Do searches from other people and try to find my frustration because it's not.
Are you talking about the event calendar or
Event calendar, signing up for events?
Well,
all
there's a
of it.
quick link now. To the
I don't want
master.
explanation. I don't want explanation. I'm just saying, as someone that's on these freaking boards, I should be really good at it. So if people aren't on boards, there's probably.
Town website or
Just
specific rules.
events, just finding out about events and where they are and what time they are and just being able to searchability of those things. I bet we'd have a lot more people coming to things
because so many times people are like, oh, is that this weekend? I didn't even know. And I know we put it on Facebook, and the searchability is not.
Is there a place on the, I don't know, Facebook is not an answer. I hate that. There was something I went to and it was like, oh, it's all on Facebook. I'm like, no, you should not be requiring people to go to Facebook to get information.
No. Is there a place on the main page where you can, it can roll like upcoming events for like the next 3 months or something like that? People don't go to pages to look around at things. People do an original Google search. They're not gonna.
Right.
But if it's Parks and Rec town, they don't type that. No, okay, but I get that. But if it's on there, that might drive a Google search then. Okay.
I get frustrated sometimes when I search for things. I don't know if it's Parks and Rec or just the whole town passes on. But when I do put something into the search, it searches Google. It doesn't search the town website.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about this there. I want to know what's happening in the town. And before I had one, I couldn't remember what my comment was on, on the marketplace loss, but also an issue that I raised before about making sure that there's clear signage that says this is a public park. Anybody can use this, not just the residents.
Or they cut them off because of Tracy, but are they gonna have dog parks and dogs allowed or no dogs? That's it.
I think that's something
That could be part of the.
or whatever. Even like all the rules that apply to the parks, they all apply to this class.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I brought this. I was gonna talk to him about that over that time.
Well, quite frankly, Eric, when you and I saw we had 15 minutes to talk about this, I was like, oh, that's realistic. I looked at your thing, I was like, it's 15 minutes. Why did she say that?
Somebody gets scolded.
Anyways, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second number. All in favor?
Aye.
Casey.
And you know what, okay, right before all that, I'd really like to thank Rose and Ashley for coordinating and Eric and Jesse, for helping, with our little celebration. Next year is going to be in September when we're more on it, with a changeover of the commission.
Yeah.
Really, I had fun. Yeah, the game earlier on when we had the race. That was fun though.
The social thing was fun. I also think that those people should be recognized by the trustees. That was That's a huge list.
Yes, you can,
It should be before September.
you can make a motion to
Like July.
put in a memo to recognize them at a board of trustees.
Voting on our commission members in
Well,
August.
we just adjourned.
To change over.
You could ask Eric to put it on for the November.
We
So
want
then I can just, Eric or I can do a memo to the board of trustees.
Yeah.
That's why it's September.
All right, July and September.
Beverages? Come on, guys. I had to do a whole party and only do soda water.
Are you taking all this? I will take these. I don't have.
No, I think they got.
Sorry for being antsy, but I sat in a 4.5-hour meeting and last night, the board of trustees thing my back. And I do appreciate your like glances here and there.
Can you back these to that back?
Sure.
I get it.
But I promise, when I'm not taking obviously, I'm there was, I was and I got to so.
No, wait, that's what it's more. That's what like holiday parties. I don't do that.